Welcome to Public Comment. I'm John Dunbar, former mayor of Yountville.
And I'm Alfredo Pedroza, a farmer.
Welcome as we talk about politics, people, and whatever else is on our mind.
Is it election day, John?
It is a special day.
Did you vote?
I've already voted.
How many times?
As many as legally permitted.
Okay, one. If you're in office, you better do something with
Party
it.
affiliation really doesn't matter at the local level.
Why don't you talk about what you're going to do? Oh, wait, you don't have a vision.
The average person doesn't know what's true and what's total bullshit.
To wish failure or harm or hate, that's the line that we shouldn't cross.
But it's an interesting day because it is election day and we're not running for office. We're not trying to stay in office. So it's not as stressful as it has been in the past for either one of us, I think. But it's interesting to see the dynamics of elections today. You know, we started to see that, I think, when we were still in office, that people get very aggressive with their messaging, with their advertising. I
thought they were funny.
Well, some are funny, I suppose, depends on whether you like the candidate or not. But, you know, it speaks to why, and we've talked about this multiple times in previous pods, why a lot of folks that are very engaged, would be very qualified as candidates, don't want to run.
Yeah. Look, John, I don't miss it. These are stressful days, you know, when you're putting everything on the line. And look, first of all, for everyone running, you know, power to them. Like, whether I agree with them or not, I think it takes a lot for someone to run, John, period. It's crazy how many people are on the list for governor, by the way.
One full sheet.
I know, it's ridiculous. And I have some friends that are running, right? I'm not going to name names. But it takes a lot, right? And for those that are serious about it, it takes an extra level of commitment. But to your point, what's been disappointing for me, though, this season is just the negative shit, right? Like, what happened to talking about what you're going to do, what you stand for? And you ran campaigns, you know, I don't know how many were competitive. I always love to have competition for some reason. And I was always committed to, and I would tell this to Brenda, I was like, if I have to run and go negative, I'm not running. And trust me, just like people wanted dirt on me, I got it on my opponents too, right? But I never went there. Granted, the polls were always in my favor, but I'll tell you, and I committed to this, you could ask my consultant and team, was like, I'm not gonna go there because I want them to focus on what I'm doing and what I've done. And guess what? If I've been there for 2 years or 5 years, I better have a fucking record to point to. Not superficial that we held 20 town hall meetings or that we got a check that we were gonna get already. No, we pointed to real shit that we did in Little Napa County for people. Now, my opponents would criticize that. I'm like, well, great. Why don't you talk about what you're gonna do? Oh, wait, you don't have a vision. Right, so like that's what I'm seeing, John. Whether it's the Congress race that we can talk about, the governor's race, or these other races, or the non-existent races in Napa County, it's just a crazy time.
I look back, you know, today, thinking about the last campaign I was in, and I had an opportunity, like you were just talking about, in terms of you know, attacking an opponent or not. I had an opportunity where I had information that would have been harmful to my opponent. So, you know, made it in the supervisor race, made it through the primary, and today's the primary for this election cycle. And so I was going head to head with a candidate who has been and still is a personal friend. And I was given the opportunity to call out some, it wasn't personal behavior, but it was a lack of experience and some other things that would have been an advantage for me, probably. And I said, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to talk about what I bring and my experience and my strengths, and then people get to decide. They chose to go with my opponent, and I respect that. Wow. But the problem I'm seeing, and we're seeing it more and more with the massive amount of money that's being spent on campaigns, especially at state and federal levels, is it's not just about the candidates and their campaigns. It's about the independent expenditures that are funding most of the real derogatory hate mail that people still associate with the candidates. So let's understand, these trustees are independent, that's private money that does not have any connection to candidates, whether it's your candidate or an
Yeah.
opponent, those messages are controlled by these independent organizations. It's not the candidate. The candidate cannot even say, don't do that.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
It's illegal to
But
do
people too often associate it with the specific candidate.
But look, I guess one of the candidates that was running was saying he's not going to take money from corporate PACs, and that's a popular thing to say right now, right? And I don't have an issue. Look, if you want to take money from Chevron, take it from Chevron. If you want to take money from the unions, take it from the unions. But let's not kid ourselves. They're both trying to influence.
Yeah.
And that's the problem I have. It's like, so we're going to say corporate money is bad, but union money is okay? Aren't they trying to accomplish the same thing, which is have influence? So now, because one represents unionized members, teachers, all the above, right? Medical people, all worthy. So we're saying those jobs are different than the person that works at Chevron, that is an engineer, that is out in the field. Like, since when is that job not as great as the other job? Now, I think teachers are important, but I also think the guy working in a refinery is important. But like, that's what we've become, right? We're saying PAC money's bad, but union money's good. And you can't have that. Either get rid of all of them, right? Or let it happen. But we're trying to pick winners and losers just based off the party affiliation. That's not very democratic.
Yeah, I think that it's really tainted our elections at all the levels, because it comes down to not so much about what people are standing for in terms of policy choices.
Yeah.
It's personal stuff. It's, and I get it. If you feel like somebody doesn't have the personal character, that should matter. Absolutely. Unfortunately, we're seeing politicians, seems like every time you look to a news cycle, there's another Congress member or state representative that's bowing out because they've been found out to be misbehaving, sometimes criminally, sometimes ethically. But what I really get frustrated by is the inconsistency of folks, and some of them are people that are friends of ours, that are colleagues, that we know locally, that when their candidate puts out mailers attacking the opponent, they're okay with it. And when the opponent attacks their candidate, they find it just unforgivable. It's like, it's the same stuff, really. It's just your perspective.
Well, look, I can tell you a personal story, right? When I was going through the recall, right, I saw a side of the community that I just had never seen before, John, right? And it surprised me, right? Because you could dislike my voting record, you can do all this, and the invasion of privacy was different. But when I saw people put posters up near my kid's school, or put posters up near church, right, or my mom's house, I saw a level of, and I would say it was hate and wanting to cause harm and pain. I never had seen that before in politics. And now it's carrying over.
Local politics, anyways. Yeah.
But now it's carrying over into the local Congress race. John, that we're seeing is on a level of attack. And I'll be specific, whether Eric Jones has made money or not, he's an American. He did something that allowed him to have resources. Isn't that something we should be proud of, right? But because he has resources and using his own resources, it's bad? Or if Mike Thompson has done good in the community and he's touting it, that's good. We should celebrate that. But this attacking and trying to say someone's bad because they have resources is not okay, right? And we shouldn't succumb to that, is my whole point. Like, run on what you've done and hear the other person of what they want to do. Like, when I was listening to the governor's debates, and I worked with a few of them, John, but I was trying to say, okay, who would I want to follow? Like, who is painting a picture of a California that I'm excited about? And it was fucking hard, John.
Yeah.
It was hard. And I think there was one moment, like, not just because he's a friend, but, Villagrosa said, like, enough. Like, we got a job to do, and let's go be the adults. And you need more of that, right? And I don't think you're seeing that in all levels of government, John, from governor to supervisor races, to federal races. It's almost like a race to the bottom, and that's sad.
Well, like I was talking about in 2022 with my individual race for supervisor in District 3, there was another episode that just came back to mind when there were 6 candidates for the one District 3 seat. We were on a Zoom call with a local party organization.
There were 6 candidates for your race?
Yeah, in the primary, and then it was the 2, I was one of the 2 that went on the general election. But there were people on that call that we know, that we work with regularly, that are local people. The whole thing was a local chapter of the party, and they were verbally attacking another one of the candidates on our call. And I stopped and said, "This is bullshit." And I told the moderator, "You need to stop this, or this Zoom is over," because it's so disrespectful. And frankly, some of those people work in local government, and that's the way they're treating. Don, that's the way they're treating candidates, like to your point, that are willing to put their personal life out there for everyone to challenge, and they're willing to run for office, whether they are successful or not. They did more than the people watching on that Zoom call that were bitching and moaning about, really being hurtful toward candidates. And it's like, that's bullshit.
Well, to your point, right? You've ran against someone that's an elected, that's sitting there today. I've never heard you disparage. I've never heard you cheer for failure. Right?
Absolutely not.
But that's the way it should be. And I would say the same for me. Against someone that's in there now, and part of some of her supporters are not very kind people. But I've never once rooted for Amber to fail. I can disagree with some of the positions she's taken. I can disagree with some of the ways she thinks on things and challenge that. But that's okay. Like, that's democracy. But to wish failure or harm or hate, that's the line that we shouldn't cross. And I think it's one thing to campaign, I'll give you that. But some of these people try and carry it over, and they hold grudges and they hold hate. Because I've seen them walk around us and it's like they're mumbling things under their breath. Like, why do you still hold those feelings?
Years later.
I don't care. Right? Like, there's more to life. And if you're going home bitter because they listen to our podcast, I'm sorry.
I respect the candidates that talk about themselves. That's the way I campaigned. Any collateral that I was either passing out or mailing out was about my experience, my policy positions, what I was going to do or continue to do. I was not ever personally going after opponents. Unfortunately, we've learned it from the top down. At the federal level, it's really a disaster, I think, with the ability, and even at the state level, now you can buy TV ads, or again, when the candidates aren't even doing it, the candidates might be ethical and moral and reasonable with their messaging, especially when it's about themselves. But we have the independent expenditure groups that have no limits on spending.
But they both do it, Joe. When you say IEs, the independent expenditure, all sides are doing it.
I'm not saying that they're not, but I'm saying that that's what's really tainting the validity of an election, because the average person doesn't know what's true and what's total bullshit. And they should identify it purely based on when you're attacking somebody, that's a negative.
Well, yeah, I guess what I would say, it's always been hard to take down an incumbent, right? Someone in office, right? But I think lately is you're seeing incumbents sweat a little bit more, right? And when I ran it, you tell me how you felt, but I never, yes, it would be great to run unopposed, but I'm like, you know what? Campaigning keeps you sharp, keeps you on your toes. You're out in the community, you're working it, and you get a pulse for what's going on. I never backed away from it because I was like, look, I'm going to tell my story, right? And yes, I had money to do nice mailers, but it was shit we got done. We could point to that. And I think now, and the only advice, and I'm no one to give advice, but I will tell you, if you're in office, you better do something with it. So that way, when it comes time to election, you have something to stand for.
Well, that's the thing. Don't wait until it's a campaign. you should be reaching out and engaging with your constituents the entire time you're in office,
Yeah.
not just when you're being reelected or trying to get elected for the first time. And I'll respect, as you were saying, anyone that's willing to run at any level.
Yeah.
But we've seen it be disastrous locally
Yeah.
in the past, where I remember a race also just a few years ago where one person was going after the incumbent and was running black and white versions of images versus color versions of images and talking shit about the other person and making up lies about that person's record. And it backfired because people around here do not appreciate that kind of campaigning. Now, the question is, are people being consistent when people are, I have no problem if you're calling out somebody's record that's been in office and you disagree with the policy decisions, totally legitimate.
Yeah.
But let's stop pretending that you don't need to raise money to be elected and to stay in office. That's the reality of it.
Well, look, I want to end on a positivity moment, John.
What, the fact that we're not in office anymore?
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing, right? Tuesdays are so relaxing. But look, I think for those that are thinking about running, because I still think there are good people that want to run. And you're seeing people resign because they're not going to meetings in certain cities. How sad is that, right? Like, that's the state of our democracy. You have elected officials that don't show up to meetings, right? What does that tell you? So, but I think as a community, don't be so positional. Like, listen to people, right? We have a job to do too, right? If we want good people running for these jobs, then we have to create an environment where we have good people running, right? Where it's not about getting canceled. And guess what? If you have to worry about what you did in high school, because that's what people think about. It's like, no one's perfect, John. Like, but you have to think about all this shit. Did when you were in high school, did you do something? Were you part of a soccer team? Were you part of, all this shit? Or in college? Like, that's what people think. Because we want to cancel people. We want to go negative on everyone. And yeah, if you did something, shame on you. But like, that's the first thing that people think. Is it worth the risk? And it's like, yes, I would want everyone to be perfect, John, but that's not the world we're living in today, right? And social media, brings things up. And it doesn't mean that we elect imperfect people, but you got to create an environment where people want to run. And most people are, in my opinion, middle of the road, right? They want good government. They want someone that listens, and they want someone that doesn't dodge. And what I mean by dodge is stand up for what you fucking believe in, right? And if you don't get reelected, then let it be.
Well, let's not pretend that today, election day, being a primary is not the end. For most races, it's going to go on to November. The top two, unless somebody gets 51%, it's going to continue. Now, like our supervisor races are already done because no one's opposing, but we have several city council members throughout the valley that haven't even started yet. They're going to be starting in July for a November election, as well as assuming that the congressional race is not decided today. There'll be two, and based on our perspective here in Napa County, it's most likely Mike Thompson and Eric Jones, but we don't know what's happening in the rest of the districts. So there's still plenty more to go. I hope, and I realize this is probably unrealistic, that the tone of hatred and attack ads goes away. I know that's unrealistic, but I think if the message can be sent, we're not going to keep tolerating it.
Yeah.
We're not going to support it, even if it's coming from the candidate we support. We should be pushing back on that so that there is a more honest opportunity to elect somebody that is going to help us out.
Well, and I'll just say this. I was like, look, I know plenty of Democrats that are good. I also know plenty of Republicans that are good. And that's probably going to bother someone, John. But I want the best, right? And if they happen to be a Republican but have ideas that move it forward for the majority of the people, it's okay to say that. Like, and I know it's hard for people to say that, John, today.
Yeah.
And we can't. And I say that for Democrats, but I also say that for Republicans. Like, if there's some Democrats that are pushing good stuff, why can't we get behind that? Like, and that's I think the tug in the camps that we're dividing, and we got to get over that, right? Like, I'm teaching my kids to, what do you want, and how do you want it, and how do you do it, right? And it's not predetermining, like, you're going to do this, right? And so we got to go back to the fundamentals. And that's what I can do to make a difference.
Yeah, and remember that the local city council races are nonpartisan. I mean, yes, you declare a party if you choose to, or you can decline to state, but at least it's kind of that purer form of election where party affiliation really doesn't matter at the local level. Now, at the supervisor level, you start to get a little bit more involved with like you say, union influences and things like that. But the local level, it is very community driven. I hope, and you know how I love to hate on nextdoor.com. I hope people don't attack that what are basically their neighbors running for city council and town council. I hope they challenge the candidates on the issues and their policy beliefs. They don't attack them as people. They don't attack them for the job they have or the job their spouse has or what school they went to. Base things on the policies and how they will lead. That will go a long way to us getting out of this cycle of anger and get a little bit back more into civility.
I think we should end on that note, John.
I hope. Cheers to that.